days that you're building that plane in the sky while you're implementing ed tech? I think that's very profound, especially if you're in a one-to-one environment. Every day is a new challenge. It's unlike the day before. And you know, if you're doing this, that you have become learners all over again with your students. And it's a lifelong lesson, and it's a wonderful model for the children in your classrooms today. Okay, so back to toward the beginning. So this technology, which is, and I know I'm preaching to the choir here, the trends today, it's everywhere. It's ambient. But it's not in our classrooms, right? It's not in the hallways. It's not in the lecture halls and all the different cafeterias where kids hang in the school life. It's not there. But as soon as they walk out of that school, where is it? Everywhere. In their hands, in their bedrooms, on the playground, et cetera, et cetera. What's wrong with the picture that we don't have that at school? And personalization, major theme today, because that's what authentic reform is about. If you coin it in one word, it is personalization of teaching and learning. That means volumes. It isn't just, I know this learner, and I care about him or her, and I'm teaching him or her. What is really the personalized style of helping that child? And what better way to do that than with technology? As Liz mentioned, this is a learning continuum. I love this slide because it shows up to minute today, present day. Who knows what it would be a year or two from now? But we know we go from the live, the synchronous, all the way to on demand. And in a personalized teaching and learning environment, that's what we have, on demand. Talking earlier this morning, all of these resources you're getting today, obviously you can't do a mental download so that your skills are developed when you walk out the door. But what you have is a bank of resources so that you can personalize that to just in time when you're ready to learn it. Think about how powerful that is for our children today. And believe me, there is research. If you follow Dr. Mitra's hole-in-the-wall research, 11 years of different iterations, children learn with technology. They learn content and materials according to their own skill sets, their own styles, if we let them. It's a huge lesson that we need to build on. Again, as Liz, again, I love the slide. This is what school looked like for me in St. Louis grade. Again, we're all looking forward. We're all in our seats, kind of like you are right now. Add a little color to it in the 60s. But still you see what are students doing. They're looking forward. They're in the front of the room. This is a lot of classrooms today. Might be even your one-to-one classrooms. But what are the students doing still? They're still looking forward. They're still sitting in rows, even though there is a student perhaps leading the instructional program. But they're still sitting looking forward. So that's instructional approach one. At the Institute, what we've done is we've kind of captured 3 different instructional modes. So we could recognize that and help teach that when we go out and help people transform. So in this approach, the teacher's the expert, or maybe the student's the expert in one area, a topic. There's the subject mastery we're all about that. We're all about that content. And mostly kids are doing the same things, the same tasks, the same ways. In a one-to-one environment, and this is a tragedy, but it's something to know so that we can be aware and move from it. A lot of people, a lot of school districts with one-to-one implementations or even robust education and technology implementations still function in traditional ways. That is, the teacher still assigns what you're going to do and how you're going to do it. The teacher still has everybody doing similar tasks, going to the same websites, or even creating parameters to how far-reaching students can work on their own. And that's what's happening in traditional, like we call that a traditional one-to-one teaching environment, still functioning in instructional phase 1. And there's low-level tech integration, meaning that kids are probably using PowerPoints, they're probably searching Google, they're probably doing presentations. But that's not meaningful integration in the sense of what we want to get to in a true personalized environment. Instructional approach 2, you see a very different setting in this picture. It's messy. Kids are in groups. If you were in that classroom, it would be very loud, and they're working together. They each have their own device, but maybe they're huddled around one device to work. One thing that's missing in this picture is what? Teacher. The teacher! Yeah, and if you go into these classrooms, you're hard-pressed to find the teacher. I've been in many, many of these environments. This is a high school version, similar kind of thing. You still see the high school kind of desks, but what you're seeing is kids moving around. It's It's busy, there's kind of a frenzy happening, but that's an instructional approach too. It's a lot more personalized. The teacher facilitates, kind of sets up this environment, steps away from it, allows a little bit more of kids to be able to personalize what they're doing, but still not in a sense of that they have kind of the freedom to go out and learn within the standards and benchmark approach. There's some just-in-time instruction, but what does happen in instructional phase 2 is that the teacher is freed up to work more individually with students, which is a huge thing. Is that so as kids are moving forward and discovering and they're facilitating their own learning, then I as a teacher can help those and maybe help redirect, maybe I'm finding out what their progress is, I can find additional resources, but we begin to see the emergence of this personalization approach. So when you're transitioning into this phase 2, which is not everywhere, believe it or not, this is still pretty avant-garde to happen in traditional school settings. But what we find is really important to getting to this is asking 2 major questions, and that is, what are the beliefs of this school or this district? What are the beliefs about teaching and learning here? Do we believe that kids can't learn on their own, given the right digital content, resources, and guidance? Do we believe they can? And then secondly, who's making these decisions? Who has the authority to make these decisions? Are we doing it together? Is the superintendent doing it? Is the board doing it? Is the teacher doing it? Or is it a collaboration? The answers to those questions begin to drive how you set up what it is you're going to do, how you're going to move. And then instructional approach 3, which we are still quite distant from in most arenas. And that's this virtual world, where if you look at this setting, we've got learning centers and students milling around and working in groups. They have projects, all geared towards standards and benchmarks. But it looks like a free-for-all. And it's not. What it is students who have created these centers and they're moving through them at their own pace in groups as individuals, and the outcomes are going to be the skills and knowledges that are expected, but they have fostered those on their own as they move through the environment. It includes virtual realities and immersion. And how powerful is it to be able to simulate, and you may think, we all think differently about gaming, but the truth is that gaming, the research is showing, is tapping skills and creating skills in learners unlike anything before, meaning that if I'm working an algebra game, by way of example, I'm doing 5 and 6 different critical thought processes simultaneously. I'm competing perhaps, so I have to have a strategy. I'm learning the formulas, or I'm learning how to perform and understand those tasks. I'm problem solving. I'm doing all these things simultaneously, which is what is expected in this century in the workforce, the skills that Lutz showed us about 21st century, the workforce. That's what those kids are doing in those environments. How can we simulate that in our classrooms? Create that environment where they're doing all those things simultaneously. Gaming is doing it, but can we also do it? And I believe we can, and we will. Second Life, how many of you listen to NPR on Fridays, Ira Flato's Science Fridays? This is his platform, Second Life. This is where he speaks from and where he teaches us on Fridays his lessons about science. This is his audience, these are his speakers, this is how he does this. And this is something we can also do in our classrooms. And again, this is an evolution still happening. We're not there yet because we're still catching up using tools and the other power of the tools that we have at our disposal, but this is where we're going. And quite honestly, this is where our kids are today. Everywhere but in our classrooms.